Hello, everyone. Hello, this is Jessie Bowen with the Become an Author podcast. And I am excited that I have the opportunity each week to bring to you people that have made the decision to publish a book. I mean, you're sitting on a gold mine. So if you've been thinking about publishing a book, well, I don't know what to write, I don't know how to write, and all that, that's excuses. So on this program, we're bringing to you people that have made a decision to do that, to write their book, and to see what's on the other end of the rainbow. And I have two of those gentlemen here today, and we work together on several different levels, publishing and managing and marketing through Elite Publications, which Elite Publications is the sponsor for this podcast. But we also martial artists. So today I'm bringing to you two martial artists. Now they're not just martial artists; they're grand masters in the martial arts. So that makes them a little bit different. But they're 10th degree black belts. And you say, 10th degree black belt, what are they writing? So they're going to be telling you about their books today. But I really want to introduce them because they are both International Impact Award winners. Now, when we think about impact, that means that people have written a book that's really, a lot of people want to read. It's life-changing. So the International Impact Award is a very prestigious award that they have received for their books, but not only have they received the award for the book, they're in a runoff and competition for who will become the International Impact Author of the Year. So we got a link we're going to drop in there in just a few minutes that you can now go to, and you can now vote and cast your vote for them. Cast it for both of them. You don't have to pick and choose. Just cast it for both of them. So we're really excited, just having that opportunity to work with people who their lives have been changed by the things we're doing. Hello, gentlemen. How you doing?
Doing great.
Well, thank you.
Good. We have Grandmaster Brendan Wilson here with us, and we have Grandmaster Tom LeBrun here with us. So we have two incredible people, guys. I've really enjoyed our journey. Tom, I guess we've been hanging out for a couple of years. And Brendan, we've been hanging out for about a year now, and the book projects. Did you guys think that you would have be in this place with your writing projects? Brendan?
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this interview. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to express my gratitude to you, Dr. Bowen, to all of Elite Publications, Jessica Phillips, Crystal Harvey, all of the people that helped make this a success. So I didn't think we would get this far this fast, and I am indebted to you and your company and all the people that work with you for getting me this far. Thank you.
You have received another nomination also, haven't you?
Are you talking to me, sir?
Yes, I am, Brent. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so thanks to you, this book has won 5 awards so far.
Wow.
So it won the International Impact Award, it won the Literary Titan Award, it won the Book Excellence Award, and of course it won the Take Center Stage Award.
Take Center Stage, yeah.
And then it's up for Author of the Year. I don't think Tom and I are competing with each other because we're in different categories. I'll bet you that they're going to have one for science fiction and one for action adventure. But Tom, if you beat me, I would be happy to have you beat me. You're a great author and a great martial artist, and I would be happy to have been in competition with you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's all about the team, right?
It is about the team.
Yes, it is.
So and really, that's what I think of everything too, is about the team. And Brendan, what's the name of your book? Do you have a copy of it there? Can you hold up for us?
So the book that's under consideration is Warrior Goddess, which is book 2 in the Mei Ling Lee series. The first book, which is The Achilles Battle Fleet, follows the career and life of Mei Ling Lee. She's a naval officer. At the end of the first book, she gets court-martialed, demoted, and sent to the Marine Corps, where she is currently still is, supposedly. And we had a lot of fun writing it. When we first brought this to you about 18 months ago or so, my wife had said, you need to find a publisher. Didn't you get inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Honor? And don't they have a publishing arm? So I contacted Jessica, and we did a phone call while I was driving around. We were on vacation in Florida. And you guys, told us what you could do. Everything you said you were going to do, you did. All right. So we've had the full marketing support. We had the editing support. We had the formatting support. And you were very patient with me when I was a petulant author trying to get everything his way. Jessica has to take most of that, right? Because he has to deal with the authors every day. But you said your book is going to be an international bestseller. And it was in 4 countries. So you made that happen. And that was, I see that you sent us a list of questions. And one of those questions is, what's your advice to future authors? It's part of the advice is get somebody who knows what they're doing and go with it. So thank you.
But, then that's really important. I want to say to everyone as we're going in our podcast today, that's very important. You guys own the rights to your book. You're collecting all the money from your book. So now Elite Publications, we don't deal with your money and we don't deal with your rights. Now, because it's really easy to sign a contract with a publishing company that they own your book. You say, well, no, this is my book. No, it's their book. And because not another publishing company will put it up until they take their name off of it. Until they take their name off of it, they really own your book once it's published under their brand. And we realize, because we've talked with so many people, what those problems are. So that's the reason we don't do that. I'd rather for you to have your own accounts or be able to, to manage we're there to do whatever you don't want to do. We work for you. So whatever you want to have done, this is what we do. But that's a critical thing for everyone to realize in the first part of our conversation today is that you must be aware that you can sign away your rights and you don't even realize you're actually doing it. So you want to make sure you get that information. So Tom, tell us a little bit about your book as we're kicking your books. You've got yes. We're on number 5 now. Is that 4 or 5?
Just finished number 5. So I don't have a copy in my office here, but the book that won International Impact Award was called No Stone Left Unturned. And I'm very proud of that. It really was a big jump from the previous 2 books in the same series. And then because people really liked that book, I went ahead and wrote book number 4 in the series called The Ghost in Stone. And if you could picture Washington, D.C., and there's a picture of a white ninja, and then there's a guy that looks pretty buff on the cover. It's called The Ghost in Stone, and they prevent assassination attempt against the president and the Secretary of State got shot, and so forth. So that's the one I presented to the International Impact Award. They had called me up and they said, what are you working on now? And I told them, entered it, and they said, we'd like to use that and nominate you for the Author of the Year award. So I've got multiple books under their banner, if you will. And I'm just very, I guess I'm overwhelmed with emotion in that it's come this far for me. It's just, you write a book and you hope people like it, and they do, and it's an action thriller, and it has all the martial arts stuff in there, and the reviewers are saying, well, obviously Mr. LeBrun knows what he's talking about. I hope so, but anyway, it's really neat to see that, and they like the fight scenes. recent review said if you're a fan of Clive Clusser, Tom Clancy, and Lee Child, these are the action books for you. So I told my wife, I said, I just have being mentioned in that group, I feel I've done a very good job in putting my message out there with these books. So I've come a long way since our first interview a few years ago. So it's fun.
Think about it for a second, guys. I know I'm not really in my questions right now I have for you. But, think about it. If you hadn't have taken that opportunity, what would you be doing today? You probably would not be in this interview with me. And if you look at the doors of opportunity that's happened since you have actually written your books, that's pretty amazing, the awards recognition. And then again, you're among a very few people that have had the distinct honor of your work to be recognized and for your work to be to win awards. I mean, that says a lot for you, for your story, says a lot for the design. And just to take action, a lot of people don't even know they can enter their books into award competitions, but you guys have actually, you've actually done that. So I think that's pretty incredible. The other thing reason that people write book, and I was in a class this weekend, and it's really true, because as I look at you guys and I look at myself, a person writes one book and that's it, they're going to have limited success. But you look at the people that write 2 books, the people that write now 3 books, and then 4 books. Now those people are the game changers. Their names are out there, their brand recognition's out there. So a book can help them to be able to change not only the financial sides of their life, but it becomes an influencer and other things that you have the opportunity. And what I was in the class that we're talking about, by the time an author hits 3 books, now that's a game changer. I know for me, then I had to think about it. Well, yeah, my 3rd book, I was able to sell my company, retire from Duke University, and be just a author in the author and publishing business. By the time I published 3 books, so now I've got 11 books in that series. So now I have a publishing company. But you see, I'm just saying all that to say that the power of your books and where I've seen you guys, grow from is really amazing. So I really want to commend you to keep moving forward. Anybody want to, chat about that a little bit? So, the person that's out there thinking about writing a book and they haven't moved on it, but they're missing so much by trying.
Go ahead. When I first wrote my first book, it's my autobiography, and I didn't know how to write a book. I didn't know the first thing about it, and that was 5 years ago. So I've written 5 books in 5 years. What happened was, as I began, I had my family, my wife, kind of help me along with it. Tell me this story, tell me that story, and it was a book of inspiration, book of motivation, my own story. So the people that are wondering what it's like, or should I write a book, and your mantra, Grandmaster Bowen, is everyone has a story. You just have to tell it. And that's kind of, I didn't hear you then. We didn't know each other, but I started putting it all to paper. But I said, this has got to be, it has to influence people. It has to inspire people. And it has to be something that it's a page turner. So my whole life story it's a very unique journey. And it's called Hiding in Plain Sight, and which also received an International Impact Award way back. And so I tell people, I didn't know anything about writing a book. Why don't you just start? Get your friends involved, have fun with it, play with it a little bit, make it an enjoyable read about your story. You've got something to tell. So I guess that's my take on that question there, is that you take the chance. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? You don't write the book. That's the worst thing that happen. If you write a book and it's a bestseller, and we both have had bestsellers, my God, that turns people around and they say to you, I didn't know you knew how to write a book, and that was a big joke up here. And I thought of me just as a martial artist and stuff. So it opened that world of, boy, that is something that really, so you wrote a book. And now, like I said, I've just finished my 5th book in 5 years, and people just shake their heads. They're like, I didn't know that. Even my son called me the other night, can you mail me some of your books? So that was really pleasing to me. So.
Okay, Brendan, so that's what we're really talking about is if you don't write it, then what happens? Absolutely nothing. And, so why don't let's chat a little, hear your chats on that.
All right. Well, thank you. When I first started to write this book, it was kind of an interesting time for me. I had been serving in Iraq. I was a civilian at that time working for NATO, and we used to sleep in these concrete reinforced bunkers. And there was a public affairs system that was hooked into a counter-mortar radar system. So whenever there was incoming fire, we were told to take cover. So I'm sleeping there, middle of the night, warning, incoming fire, take cover. And then we heard the thump of what I suspect was mortar fire far off, no danger to me at all. And I took that and worked that into my first novel, into the opening scene. But I put it on a spaceship, right? So a slightly different scenario. But that, like you said, everybody has a story. I didn't know what the story was going to be when I started writing that. It sort of worked itself out over time. And then 2018, I was sent back to the United States for medical treatment. And by that time, I'd have been out 40 years at that. So I needed a break. And I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to finish the book that I had started, and I wanted to go to law school, which I had started years before and not been able to finish. So I did both of those things. And to me, you were very kind to have published my article on writing through despair in your magazine. But it was very cathartic to me. It wasn't just writing the book. It was getting something out that I needed to get out at a time that I needed really to get that out. So, to me, there's a creative aspect of it. And there's also, as Tom had mentioned, you're reaching out to others. And so there's a formulation of what you would like to get out. And what I like to do with my characters is I put them in situations where they have to make decisions of which there is no perfect solution. They're tough lifetime decisions, and they have to live with the consequences, and those consequences become part of them, right? And the reason I wrote that into the science fiction novel is because we all deal with that. We just went through a pandemic where parents had to decide, do I feed my children, or do I expose them to a deadly virus? Do I send them to school where they might be exposed, or do I keep them home? Do I pay this bill or not that bill? These are real life decisions. And the consequences of those decisions, we have to own, all of us. That's what I wanted to try to get through. And I put Mei Ling in impossible situations where she has to balance mission against the lives of her people, against her own personal character and what she would do. And then she has to live with the consequences. And in the end of the first book, that consequence is a court-martial. And she takes it because that's the right thing to do.
And everyone, we're talking with 2 of our great authors here today who have won the International Impact Award, who are now in the running for Author of the Year through that organization. And not only the International Impact Award, but they are multi-award-winning authors, and they all started off, and they're martial artists. And we're going to ask them about their martial arts background so you get a chance to know that. But a key point that just sort of popped up is now they're talking about their books, and you're saying, well, I don't know what I'm going to write on. So these are fiction books. So, this is what's happening there. Everybody fantasizes. Okay. They think about something. If they say they don't, they're not really being truthful, because the subconscious is always working, whether you are conscious of it or not. So in that role play, they have come up and actually turned their imagination into real stories where these stories could become, screenplays, so there's so many things that's happening here. So I write books myself based upon what am I doing? I just finished a Christian book, and the title of it is Don't Procrastinate on God. I was going through a bout of procrastination, and I realized it, so I had to solve my problem. So I wrote a book about procrastination for entrepreneurs and about the wealth kingdom mindset. So, what are you dealing with? What's going on? Do you have a fantasy imagination or a strong imagination on a character that runs in your head? I was thinking about last night, I've always loved the cowboy movies. I grew up in that era, and of writing me a cowboy movie, but the character in the book is also a samurai. So he went to Japan. Well, I don't want to tell you the whole story about the book, but you see how exciting it becomes when you now allow your imagination to be able to run and create things, and that is what writing is about. It's about discovering your creative side. What is it that you're good at? Or what is it, something that you're doing that gives you pleasure? And that's what you do. You want to be able to write about that. Now, I know, guys, that, you are, again, Tom, you've got the bodyguard experience, and Brendan, you've got the military experience. So let's talk a little bit about your martial arts background, because in building these superheroes, you're really sort of taking your martial arts knowledge and sort of superimposing that over your character. So, Brendan, why don't you go ahead and start for us?
Well, thanks. Well, in 1974, that's how old I was. When I was 16 years old, I got cut from the varsity baseball team in Alexandria, Virginia. And that day, I went down to the local karate studio and started training there. And that was a good impetus for me. I went to college. I continued to train in college. I got my black belt about the time I went into the Army as a second lieutenant. I went to the Army Airborne School, Ranger School, where they do combatives, and I kept up that training. In most units I went to, I started a class or a club, or I was captain of a competition team. I served for a year in Korea, 15 months in Korea, where I also trained. And then after I retired, I also ran some schools when I was overseas. I've trained people pretty much all over the world, including in Iraq. And that's been my journey, and it's really been it's good for me. It's good for the soul. It's good for the body. Good for the spirit. I still train every day, just like you do, Grandmaster Bowen. We talked about that. I don't spar anymore because all the bones have been broken once. But I do my forms, and over the years, you pick up a lot. So and I noticed that I make the forms so that my body can take it. So I don't do any of the jumps anymore. And my high kick is really working up towards the waist these days. But it's been a great journey, and it applies to so much of my life, and I really appreciate it. And it was a really good thing to be able to transition this into my writing.
Well, think about martial arts. That's a creative side. Like say your katas, you're having to use your imagination, and that's the thing about studying the martial arts. It's not just the physical side, but it's the mental side, because you learn to expand your imagination, so your creativity. So I think that is totally perfect. And then in integrating that into being a writer, it is really great. Hey, Tom, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yep, in 1967, Joe Frazier had won the Olympics in '64. So I started following Joe in '67 and filled up a burlap bag full of dirt and sand and so forth and put it out in my backyard, out in the woods, because my parents never knew about it. And I pretended I was Joe Frazier. I'm just working that bag and shredding my winter gloves and so forth, and brought them home and told my parents that the dog ate them, so they bought me another pair. And I just kept going. And now fast forward, and ironically, it was 1974 that I walked into my first formal martial arts class. It was judo. And here I walk in because I had been lifting weights and good-sized young man, and the gentleman said, swing. So I swung, and he flipped me over his head, and I landed on the mat. I said, nice, okay. He said, no, this time don't fool around. He said, I really want you to swing at me. I said, okay. So I swung with all my might. He flipped me. I missed the mat. I got up, brushed myself off, and my pride was hurt a little bit. I said, sign me up. And that's kind of how it all started. So I went from judo to taekwondo to Okinawan Kempo, and then people started realizing that I was doing a lot of sparring. We're having an event. Can you come in and make sure there's nobody's fighting and so forth? And there's going to be some drinking, sure. And then it was kind of like the movie Roadhouse. And here I was, a civilian guy, and people were testing. And I made very good friends with the local police officers, and they wrote some letters in my first book, again called Hiding in Plain Sight. From there, the security world started opening up, which meant I had to train even harder because I'm responsible for people's lives. And then I was a part-time police officer and handed in my stuff, but I said, tomorrow I'm going into the security world. This was 1988, and I received my first black belt in 1985, and I never really put my belt on when I'm training. So in '88, the captain of the police department said, well, where are you going to take this business of yours? Because we already have a security guard outfit. And I said, sir, I'm going to travel all over the world and protect people. Okay. And kind of nodded, as most normal people would have. So fast forward, I've been to almost 50 countries and protecting the best of the best out there. And that meant my training had to be I had to be at the top of my game all the time. And I am still in the field working. So I may be getting a call this week to go somewhere else. And so it's a continual training program. I trained under Michael DePasquale Jr. and Sr. in the early 90s and received Dan ranking in there. Grandmaster Ernie Reynolds presented me with a 5th Dan ranking, and it started going up. I started making a compilation of different styles as to how it relates to the security world. And I was certified, and it was certified and authenticated by Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef, Grandmaster Glenn Perry, Grandmaster Danny Lane, etc. And so I'm still training just as hard as I ever have in all these years. So I'm still 35 at heart, you know. So that's my journey, and I wrote a book about it. Again, Hiding in Plain Sight is that whole journey of me going through all these facets of my training and bumping into people and explaining what it is that I do on an international level. And I don't feel that I'm slowing down much lately, much to the worrying of my wife. So anyway, things have gone very well. I'm very pleased, and the writing kind of takes me away from that a little bit, but I use my characters as a kind of, they said, which character are you in this book? And it's called Cameron Stone Action Thriller. So I said, well, I'm a little bit of Cameron Stone, I'm a little bit of Rains, and many of these books have actual places that I've been to so I can walk people through these areas, but it's a fictional story going on in the background. So I really use my imagination in doing that, but I have resources that I can draw from. And then I used all my martial arts experience in the fight scenes and so forth. So it's gone very, very well. I'm very pleased, as I've always, and I keep going. So
that's great. That is great. Everyone, if you're just tuning in to us, we're here today, and we're talking with 2 of our authors who have earned the International Impact Award, which is a prestigious award for authors. They are award winners in multi organizations, and they're talking about their book experience. And we want you to know that you can have that same experience that also. So guys, in receiving the International Impact Award is a huge accomplishment. Now, can you share with us what this recognition means to you personally and professionally?
Well, thanks for that. First of all, it's a great honor. And thank you, Jessie, for having nominated me for that award. I didn't even know that, by the way. I got this thing and said I'd won. And I contacted Jessica right away and I said, did you guys do this? So I really appreciate that. So for me, it's a way to reach a wider audience. It's a way to continue to develop my creativity. And it's a way for me to continue to make contacts with people that will help me facilitate that process in the future. I got a call from Nim Stent, who is hosting the ceremony out in Phoenix. Great people. They called me at home. They wanted to know about me. I told them that you were my publisher, and they know who you are, of course. So I think that was I'm looking forward to going out there and doing that, and I'm also looking forward to going to Hollywood in October. That's my plan.
Yeah. Well, we pretty much got our calendars, already, set up of all the things that we're having the opportunity to be able to do. As authors, there's all these here great opportunities. So, Tom,
to be nominated number one for the Author of the Year award, I could not imagine having to have received that. Not that I doubt myself, but it's surreal in many ways, because we've come a long ways in the writing, and all of a sudden you're going, well, you're up for the Author of the Year. We both, I'm hoping, Brendan, you and I, we became finalists in this adventure with them, and even to be a finalist and not be that grand prize winner. My God, that will open so many doors, and people will just look at you with a different set of eyes, I believe. Especially with me, they've known me as the weightlifter, the bodyguard, and so forth. They go, but you write books. I go, how did that happen? But now I'm being considered the Author of the Year. I mean, I just can't. I mean, the good Lord has blessed us to take that forward, move it forward, move that needle forward. And if we can do it, I think it gives inspiration to others to say, wow, look at these guys, they're just like us. Then we have qualities that they may resonate from, and say, if these guys can go out and do it, I can too. And you just keep pushing that needle. And it's not that I doubt myself, but I like I said, I just never thought that, number one, I would be a writer, and now I'm having fun. I'm having a great time, and to get the awards that come with it, and then some of the reviews that are on top of the awards. I said, Mr. LeBrun's books are action thrilled, and people should look at them. And I'm just very humbled and honored to be participating in those items that come with being an author. So it's going to mean a lot. It's going to really mean a lot. And I know that Joan will be by my side, and we'll go out to Hollywood and just see everyone. It's just fantastic. What an experience,
Hollywood.
Yeah. It could be
I won, last year, I was out for the, I got all my bling bling behind me, but I won the Olympia Award last year, for publishing and martial arts innovation. And, if I hadn't have written, the books I've written and done the things we've done, going to Hollywood, California, that's where you think of the superstars as being. But because we did one thing, it caused an effect. So my next question is advice for inspiring authors. What advice would you give to someone who is thinking about writing a book, especially someone from the martial arts or sports background?
Okay, that's a really good question. And I talked it over with Kay, my wife, before the interview, my first thing would be the advice that I would give anybody on anything they want to do, which is life is an adventure. It's your adventure. It's not anybody else's adventure. And don't take counsel of other people's fears. Sometimes if you want to do something that's challenging, that's difficult, that has a high potential for failure, there's always going to be somebody to say, oh, don't do that, right? And don't listen to that. Do what your heart tells you to do. And if it tells you to write, then you should write. The second thing is just write. So yes, when I got stuck with the last book and I just couldn't seem to, there's two ways I get stuck. One is I get my characters into situations I don't know how they're going to get out, right? The engines are broken, a missile is inbound, and I don't know what they're going to do, right? And then the other one is I just sometimes get the writer's block. And Kay had said, just write. We can fix it later. And that was the best advice I ever got as far as, just getting through it. And then the final advice, which I think is very reasonable, is to find somebody that knows the publishing business, somebody that has already made the mistakes that you will make if you don't contact an expert. And I struggled through my first book, and I had a publisher, and they did good work, and I don't mean to criticize them. But Jesse, you guys really know what you're doing. So when it comes to how does the book need to be formatted, right? How do you get it registered with the Library of Congress? How do you get your copyright done? Right? How do you integrate the different comments with the cover so that it all works together? How does the marketing work? All of that you guys already know how to do. So if you want to get somebody, my final advice is this is where you can probably use some help. Nobody's going to help you write it, but somebody can help you get that book put out there. And so that would be my advice. Just write it. Don't take counsel of anybody else's fears, and find somebody that knows what they're doing. There we go.
Well, and I truly agree with that. And as I said before, I was writing books, back in the 80s when I first started, writing books and doing publishing. And the more you do, the more you know. And then you study. In martial artists, we are sort of, especially the martial arts side, we work on perfecting ourselves, perfecting our technique. And why not, perfect everything that you do? If you're going to be I always say, if I'm going to be a black belt, then I'm a black belt publisher. So why not? Why not be the best at what you do? I mean, why not? And that's what we were saying is that, why not share your story? Why not? Why not impact someone else's life, through your story? Tom? Do we have him there? Is he frozen? Or am I frozen? Tom? Oh, he just dropped off. Okay. Well, he just dropped off, so maybe he'll be back in here in a minute. Let me see. Can I add him back to the stage? Tom, you there? Tom? Okay. Evidently, his mic is not connected for us. Tom, can you hear us? Evidently, he cannot hear us.
Okay.
Jessica, send him an email for me, please, or text him. Okay, great. So we're here. We'll just keep the show going. That's not a problem. You and I are both talkers. So let's talk about the future of writing. Both of you are in the running for the International Impact Author of the Year Award. What does this recognition mean to you, and how will you plan to continue sharing your stories and making an impact? So what's that next journey?
Did you want that for me or for Tom?
Let's see. Tom's back. I don't know if he can hear me yet or not. I don't think he's still connected, so it's going to be for you.
Got it. So, for me, it's an opportunity to continue my creative process, to reach a wider audience, to continue to learn from a broader group of people. I am indebted to the people that helped me with the writing of the novel. For example, my novel has very detailed special operations types of stuff. I did some special operations when I was in the Army, but there are people that did much, much more than me. And one of those people is my brother-in-law, Guy Sturm, who's a retired special operations sergeant first class. And so I sent him some of the stuff. And most of it he came at and he said, that's not how they do it. I said, well, I got to write it so that people will like it. My daughter is a physician. There's some medical stuff in there. I asked her to consult with me on that. My son is a historian. I asked him, there's a historical background to that. I asked him for that. But the funniest one was one of my former colleagues is a former Ranger company commander. Was a retired colonel. And I sent him the novel and he said, I like the special operations part, but you always got to remember in every unit, even when they're in special operations, there's always one screw up. Got to write the screw up guy in there. So I did that. But I expect that if this award goes forward for Author of the Year, that I will get to meet more people, that I will get to reach more people, and I will be able to get input from more people. And that's part of the joy of writing.
Well, you're exactly, you're exactly right. So looking ahead, are there any future books that you're thinking about writing?
Well, I've got the third novel in the Mei Ling Lee series. I'm writing it now. It should be out by the winter holiday. All going well, and I hope that you will take me on again and help me publish that one. The second novel, the one that is already published, Warrior Goddess, which is currently being considered for Author of the Year, that novel has a cliffhanger ending. And I have had several people tell me that they are anxious about the next novel. In fact, yesterday, Kay and I were out for a walk, and one of our neighbors came up who has read the book. And she was wagging her finger at me and saying, how long has it been since you put out that book? Because now we've read the second book, we got to get to the answer. But the best compliment I ever got is my brother, who is a retired literature professor. He said, I read the book and I found the ending very disturbing. I said, I'll take that as a compliment. So, but the truth of the matter is it's got a bunch of confusing, conflicting types of things. And we're going to have to let the characters tell me how that works out because I'm not even sure. So we'll see. But I should get an answer out by probably November.
Okay. Tom, are you back with us?
No.
Tom?
Okay. Well, I have one thing other to say because Tom's,
Okay.
I did not know that Tom was a security specialist. But back in the 90s, I trained the NATO commanders' bodyguards in weapons disarming technique because I was stationed in Belgium and they were in Europe. They are federal officers, but they don't really have, if they have to discharge their weapon in Europe, there's going to be a problem. So they were trying to learn how to do it better, even though they're very highly trained, how best to control a weapon that's drawn in the presence of, the principal. So they were going to Germany and having somebody train in that. I said, I can do that for you here. So I trained them there, and that was a lot of fun. One of the guys that I was training was actually a former police officer from Detroit, and he had joined the Army and he was now a warrant officer. And one of my students was trying to show him, how to do a wrist lock or, disarm the weapon. And my student's on his back, pounding the table, go, oh, that hurts. So yeah, sometimes you got to be humble if you're going to try to train people who are already security specialists. Well,
Yeah.
20 years later, I was in Iraq and I was the principal and I had my own close protection team. And I got to, they had briefings and I got to watch them work. And now I am the most insufferable person to help watch a television show with because I'll always be telling Kay, that's not what the security guy does, right? They always look around, right? They look for every pathway, every possible threat. They never just walk into the building and hope for the best, right? So Anyway, that was my story.
Okay. Tom, did you make it back? I'm not sure Tom is still connected to us.
Nice. So sorry.
Okay, we're going to get ready to wrap up here. And so my last question, final in our closing piece. What advice would you like to share with the listeners on how becoming an author can empower and transform their lives? So that was sort of what we started with. So this is sort of coming back, so what advice would you share with the listeners on becoming an author and empowerment and to become empowered, and how will it transform your life?
Great. Well, thanks for that, Jesse. I put that in the context of other parts of everyone's life. Everyone has a challenge. Everyone has a goal that they want to accomplish, and it's their adventure. Every once in a while, I'll run across young people now. I meet them. I always ask them what they're doing, and give them a chance to talk about what they want to do. And sometimes you can tell that they want to do something, right? But it's hard, or their parents don't want them to do it, or there's a high risk of failure. And if I'm given the opportunity, I'll say, do what your heart tells you to do, right? Do it with all your might, especially when you're young. I mean, I went to law school when I was 60 years old. You can do things when you're older. And then, so don't take counsel of other people's fears, because it's only your adventure. When I was 23 years old, as a second lieutenant, I wanted to go to the U.S. Army Ranger School. And everyone said, no, that's not for you. You know, that's for, you know, somebody that's an infantry officer. I was an artillery officer. So I said I would go, and I couldn't get orders to go. So I was at the jump school, and I went down. There's this, you know, this woman that did the orders. And I said, can I go? She said, come back tomorrow. So I came back the next day, and she said, I tried to get your branch to let you go, but they said no. She said, but I called your joining unit, and they said that you don't have to, that they're full strength. So I asked them, can Lieutenant Wilson report 9 weeks late? And they said yes. So I've given you standby orders, right? You go down to the Ranger School. They don't have to take them, right? They can just turn you around and send you back, but it's worth a try. So I reported down there, and there was this tough old sergeant. I was lieutenant, but you can't wear any rank at Ranger School, so you're nothing. You're lower than a private. And he said, this is nothing. This is BS. Get out of here. You don't have a physical. You don't have a PT test. You don't have a weapons qualification test. You don't have anything. You're wasting my time. Get out of here. And I said, I'm not leaving. And he said, what did you say to me? I said, I'm not leaving. I came here, and I will leave with a Ranger tab or in a body bag. If you want me to leave, call the MPs. They better have their weapons drawn. I'm not going, right? And he said, how many do we have? I said, 34, First Sergeant. He said, go on through. So sometimes you just got to do what you want to do, and writing is like that. Writing is like that. You want to write the book, write the book.
Right. So, Tom, is your voice, are you audio back with us?
I think so. You know,
So I've been telling your story the whole time. So
Wait, so we're into the closing part. So, what advice would you do you have for those people that are thinking about writing a book, but they're still on the fringes? And I know for me is that you just do it. You never know what's on the other side of the door unless you walk through the door. Faith must have feet.
right.
So, so you just do it. So what advice, what would you have to say?
Make it
closing?
I'm going to make it real simple. If they're on that fringe and they're going to write it, I always say, call me. I'm going to turn those people that say you can't into I can, because I've done plenty of that throughout my life. You can't do this. Or watch me. I mean, I'm going to do it anyway, whether but make it real simple to them. You want to write a book? I'll help you. And I give them my phone number. Here, I will help you write it. I will help you get those first chapters, and they don't have to make sense. You can always change them around. Like I did in my first book. Just to give you an idea, my first book was, I'm in Africa, and I was doing advance work for Whitney Houston and her One South Africa tour. Chapter 2 is, how did I get there? Here's a picture of me with a Superman outfit on at 5 years old. To make that story grab somebody, So after I did the autobiography, started writing fiction. What kind of book you want to write? Do you want to make it fun? Do you want to make it exciting? Do you want to make it sci-fi? Do you want to take some of your own personal experiences and really get people going? I get into call me. Here's my phone number. I mean, I don't mind doing that.
And that's true.
Any more than you guys both do, I don't know how many conversations.
People that are successful.
We put it out there. I want you to be successful.
By sharing information, and that's the great part. Everyone, we've had today on Mr. Brendan Wilson and Mr. Tom LeBrun, and great authors and martial artists. So, if you're involved, if they're in your community, you can reach out to them and ask them a question, and you can make the decision. everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. Now, your story may move someone in to motivate them to do something. It may inspire them to follow you. I know my first experience with a book was a magazine. When I first I was in martial arts class, I'd never seen the word karate, as in seeing karate out there because it was so new. We're not talking about in the 2000s. We're talking about going back into the 70s. And I saw, and I'm 22 years old, and I see the word, and I walk over and I pick up the book, and there's a picture of Chuck Norris holding a great big trophy cup on his thigh, foot up in the chair, little old lady, him and his gi. I knew at that very moment I wanted to be a karate champion. That magazine, that picture changed my life. Just the image of looking at that picture changed my life. And I've got two large trophy cups over here in my office that I've won through competition. But that's why I said that writing a book that can inspire someone that to change their lives. So I want to thank both of you for, number one, entrusting your work with us. Both of you guys have great looking websites. So, we're in the web business of supporting your websites. So it's just so many things. So if you're out there and you're thinking about writing a book, or, you're thinking about that, whether it's an audio book or ebook or whatever you're thinking about, then Elite Publications, we can support you on your writing project. Now, tomorrow, which is going to be Thursday, we're going to be releasing our brand new compilation book, and that book is Elite Martial Artists Worldwide. We have writers from the UK, US, Canada, South Africa. So, we've got a lot of great masters in this book. Pick up a copy of this book, read it. It's more of a philosophy book. So if you want to become motivated and become inspired, then this would be the book for you. Everyone, I want to say, thank you to you guys, but, be blessed. And guess what? We're going to see you guys in the future projects. And everyone, remember, keep tuning in to the Becoming Author podcast. Share this podcast with someone that you may know that's thinking about writing and they're still out there contemplating what they're going to do. This is a very inspiring story with two masters in the martial arts, but now who are, renowned award-winning authors. So share it with them. And everyone, be blessed. I'm out of here.
Thank you.